Watch the real-life program about exceptional destinies, remarkable opportunities, and unbelievable facts right now.
His friends are snakes, but they betrayed him more than once. A levantine viper and carpet viper bit him many times, and he warmed the frozen cobra on his bosom. In search of a poisonous brother, he goes to neighboring states every year. Having caught a couple of hundred of them, he returns to his serpent kingdom. If you don't anger the snake, if you don't take poison from it, then in principle there are all chances to tame one. Of the most venomous snakes that won't even bite, as it will perceive you as their own. Alexander Gurnev, at home among strangers. How to achieve a warm relationship with a cold-blooded creature. What to do if it's sharpening its teeth on you. And snake beauty injections. The terrarium of the Almaty Zoo, Katerina, Camilla, and Stilitz. A roll call and inspection in this institution happens twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. 41 species, 127 of them. The card file of such a colony is, of course, on chip. Not all creatures have names, only the most distinguished ones. This one is too poisonous, but this is too curious. This is a cobra named Katya. The most poisonous snake of Central Asia, but the bites of cobras are very rarely recorded. The cobra is considered to be a noble snake, and for good reason. The fact is that not only it warns you with its characteristic stand, even if you did not notice it and came too close, then with the following happens. It will hit you with closed mouth without using its poisoned teeth. It says the snake keeps its poison.
Просто закрытой пастью, не пуская в ход свои ядовитые зубы и свой яд. Это вот, кстати, о том, когда змеи берегут свой яд.
Alexander says that communicating with snakes can save your nerves. Such a nice therapy is to hold a reptile in your hands. He knows everything about snakes, and not just by hearsay. He graduated from the Faculty of Biology. He studied to become a herpetologist. He can treat snakes, but the main lectures and practice he received in nature. At the age of 15, he left for the first time to Uzbekistan to catch reptiles. This is a scientific name. Of course, my relatives are worried when I go on such trips, because sometimes it happens, God forbid. You can get bitten by a snake. Then, a person can't be pulled out of there by any means, only by helicopter, and often there's no reception.
За исключением, наверное, вертолетов. Вот. Ну и очень часто бывает так, что вообще нет никакой связи.
The viper rushes to its prey, bites, injects its poison, and returns to its original position within 70 milliseconds. The sting of a viper is comparable to a sting of a wasp or a bee. Everything depends on the immunity. That is, you can get an edema of the bitten limb, which after 2 or 3 days passes without any consequences. Sometimes your head can hurt. Everything that he observes, he photographs. Actually, it was with pictures where his love for snakes started. I was 2 years old. My father just bought a 7-volume book called Animal Life, and in the 5th volume, everything was just about the herpetophonia, amphibians and reptiles. And in this book, so to speak, I read it from cover to cover.
Именно вот эту книжку я, так сказать, залистал до дыр.
Today, the exhibition hall is empty. It's cleaning day, cleaning cages and feeding. There are other troubles too. Here, this python became wet. It couldn't shed on its own. It needs help. The main thing is to clear its eyes, otherwise it can go blind. Here, like this, carefully without irritating the snake. You see, it doesn't like the procedure. That we touch him, he starts to get angry. But we'll try to do it softly, because it needs to be done. You see how this old skin flakes off? It's unnecessary, and he can't get it off in time. You see, he creeps directly to his cage. This snake requires special care and handling. She can bite at any moment. She doesn't get used to man. It needs many years of experience. His experience. From the age of 14, he was here at the territorium. He helped to make care of its snakes. And for many years now, he's been in charge of this snake kingdom.
Святая святых экзотариума.
The Holy of Holies of Exotica. This is the place for poisonous snakes. Here is a black mamba, one of the most dangerous in the world. When threatened, it opens its mouth, and the mouth is exceptionally black, you see? Some of its movements cannot be predicted, and perhaps I'm showing the most attention with this snake at work. In Kazakhstan, there are only 3 kinds of poisonous reptiles: steppe and common vipers, and the shiner. Here it is, the largest of Kazakhstan's reptiles. It can grow up to 70 centimeters in length. Alexander says that our republic is lucky. There's not one deadly snake. This is a water snake, which is a danger for our fishermen, but not poisonous. Do you know how it hisses? It tries to imitate a poisonous snake. We caught a snake 1.5 meters long, and with this kind of behavior, of course, people are frightened. I admit, I was even frightened sometimes when such a big viper hissed at me. You understand, this is just a water viper. But with this hissing, you start to wonder. But to get anything somewhere? Alexander says that he's not been afraid of snakes for a long time. He knows what boundaries cannot be crossed. It's necessary to keep an eye on what your fingers do under the movement of the zygomatic arcs. Otherwise, the levantine viper very often can bite its own lower jaw. That's how it turns out its teeth, and they're long and they can bite your thumb. In the hands of Alexander, there are marks of these bites, but this is already a matter of heavy artillery and the result of sharing experiences. This finger has lost its sensitivity. I can safely cut it and I don't feel any pain. This finger on the left arm I can't even bend since the poison is very strong. Apparently it affected the joint and doesn't completely bend anymore. Sinkabu, that's the name of a man who is not afraid of bites of cobras and the levantine viper. He's an employee in an Indian terrarium. Scientists have investigated the blood of Sinkabu. It was found that in his body, poison breaks down into nutrient substances. Moreover, his blood doesn't belong to any of the existing 4 groups, and its properties and composition are unique. The levantine viper was bitten me 6 times, twice the Central Asian cobra, and once I was bitten by the effa. The effa is perhaps the most terrible snake in Central Asia. In general, there's a saying among snake charmers, in Central Asia, the most venomous snake is the Central Asian cobra. The most dangerous one is the levantine viper, but the most human deaths were brought about by the effa.
Но больше всего смертей человеческих принесла именно эфа.
Here is such a small snake. It is also called a mud diver. The bite of it causes irreversible processes in the body. The components of the poison dilute the blood. In those places where the snakes live in large numbers, you must step loudly, not quietly, and try and stomp. Then the snakes feel the vibration and crawl away.
И стараются уползти.
The danger is that death from a bite of an effa can come after only a few weeks. Then, when it would seem the poison is on the mend, the snake is caught just in order to get the serum, the antidote. The poison of some pit vipers began to be used as a substitute for Botox. It smooths wrinkles. Snakes create a dangerous environment. In a team with other serpents, Alexander cleared the territory of children's camps and rest homes. We caught a snake and carried it away several kilometers where it is completely deserted. The chance that it'll return back to the origin is zero. And accordingly, we released it in a place where a snake can't meet anybody. Alexander demonstrates the weapon of killing the levantine viper, the toxic tooth. He himself saw how such a snake can bite through boots. He also served as the prototype of a needle of a syringe, here inside the channel with such characteristic cuts a needle can make.
То есть с таким характерным срезом, как у иглы.
The most toothy snake is the gabbo viper. Its teeth can grow up to 3.5 centimeters long. There's also insidious aspids. They cannot bite, they will spit venom. Therefore, well-studied habits of each other are a guarantee of peaceful coexistence. I see no threat for her, and therefore she calmly creeps by and doesn't even try to bite me.
И даже, в принципе, не пытается укусить.
He describes how difficult it is sometimes to distinguish males from females, and how he warmed the frozen cobra in his bosom. Direct human warmth can begin to warm the snake, not a strong temperature, but smoothly, gradually. I see she first moved the tongue, then slowly became more active. Then, when it was already normal from the winter state, I put it back into the terrarium and turn on the light bulb.
Такой более активной. Вот, когда уже она нормально, так сказать, отошла от состояния такого зимнего, я ее посадил уже в террариум, нормально вкрутил лампочку.
All that's needed for snakes in the terrarium is water, heat, and food. Feeding. What is perfectly harmonious in nature cannot be so in activity. Some snakes are lazy, says Alexander. They can live for a long time in the same cage with potential food. It's necessary to feed them with tweezers. You bring it up to the spout, it sniffs it again, thinks for a long time whether to eat or not, and then it takes it. Alexander says that snakes, like people, even get sick. Inflammations of the lungs often happen. Their noses can get clogged, and instead of hissing, they release a cry like this. Then it's necessary to treat it with injections, antibiotics. And they grow old too, and even suffer from osteochondrosis. There have been cases you can catch a levantine viper in the nature, and it hangs like an ark on a hook. It can't even bend itself. Most of all snakes are afraid of drafts and viruses, tells the snake catcher. In this sense, the thickest skin is represented by the mesh python. For 20 years, he's not been ill. Alexander recalls how he treated snakes from stomatitis in the serpentarium of Uzbekistan. The death rate for snakes fell almost to zero. That is, the snake was caught in the spring, lived in our terrarium until the autumn, and when it was released into nature, it was completely healthy. To save rare species of animals, this task stands before all humans. Having in hand only a book and a net, this mission for the snake catcher, a man of the rarest profession, is quite feasible.